Good morning, friends. Welcome. I'm just slightly late. I wanted to respond to a couple requests yesterday and the day before for the texts that I'm referring to this week. Some people, that's useful in their practices, bow to you, and other people, it doesn't make any, it's not supportive. So I've stuck them in the chat there and gained a few minutes in the so doing. So welcome, Friday. It's been a lovely week for me and to be with you all and to share some Dharma and to sit together and to explore for me this particular text and teaching, which is, as I said at the outset, obscure, seldom referred to, as far as I know, and quite sweet. And again, the theme for the week has been the Buddha's smile. This idea that, as this text suggests, that when we cultivate the meditation practice, when we deepen the stillness and the collectedness of the meditation in particular, that five knowledges can arise and will arise naturally by themselves. And I've further suggested that as we notice those and they come to attention, that they're strengthened. And maybe I'll review them briefly when we later in the Dharmette. But that all of them can be accompanied by a sense of ease, a sense of pleasantness and pleasure, and thus deeply sort of settle them in our minds as being wholesome and being onward leading. That, I think, is the source of this smile that comes in meditation and that we can see reflected in depictions of the Buddha and take as both inspiration and instruction. So today, interesting, we get kind of tactical. The fifth knowledge that arises in the meditation is that, I'm quoting here, I mindfully enter into and emerge from this deep meditation. And as I'll say a little bit more in the guided and then in the Dharmette, sometimes we rush in, as I did today, get here right at 7 and settle into meditation, and just as quickly the bell rings and boom, we're back into daily life. And I think today's teaching reminds us that the way we enter into the meditation and the way we leave are really important in sort of protecting the practice. And in some Buddhist traditions, there's a whole sort of culture of protecting the practice. And that will be our focus today. We get a lot more instruction about entering, in a way, because as we start a guided, typically teachers will give a sense of how to enter the meditation. We get a lot less about how to leave. And that's where I'll focus comments later. But in the meditation today, maybe I'll try in the guided portions at the beginning and the end, maybe I'll bring a little bit of sort of entering and leaving a little bit more to the fore. Great, to the meditation then. That over there. So I'm going to take a sip of tea as I encourage you to prepare for meditation. And this is the most important thing maybe about entering, is to do so, as this text suggests, mindfully. And I'm going to say deliberately, intentionally. And I'm pausing to take a sip of tea. If you have a cup of tea handy, you might do the same. And prepare to meditate. Think about, what conditions can be put in place that will help deepen the meditation. And along with a sip of tea, and maybe settling into a physical location. And I'm starting to bring the eyes down because that's what I do, to bring attention inward. Maybe we can also bring to mind intention. What is it that we sit for? Why do we sit together? and just touch base with our desire to be free. And remind ourselves that as we settle into meditation, that the mind with which we prepare the meditation is an important part of the benefits that we can expect from the meditation. We bring an intention for our own well-being and the well-being of others into the meditation as an inspiration, as an intention, and thus we prepare the mind to meditate. So instead of just sort of plopping down on the cushion or in our chair, we can ease in gradually and touch in with our fundamental intention for the practice. Maybe it's just some ease. Maybe it's some momentary relief from stress. And maybe it has a deeper course in our lives. Maybe it has to do with more spiritual, I don't want to say objectives or aims, spiritual orientations, that we want to be free, we want others to be free. And in addition to relief, we want release. And that this is a wholesome aspiration in our practice. The meditation, as I suggested yesterday, whether it's returning to the breath or settling in, can be unhurried. And in this unhurriedness, there's wholesomeness. And meditation is a place where we let go from hurry. We let go from striving. We balance effort with allowing, as we said yesterday. And we take our time as we take it easy. So, interestingly, the meditation is deeper, this day's teaching suggests, when we enter mindfully. And I would suggest that part of that is entering without hurry. We enter with ease, we enter with good intention, because these provide important conditions for the deepening of the meditation. And now, after sipping tea, looking around, settling in carefully and unhurriedly, touching in with intentions for this sit, to be here now, and maybe for the whole practice, to be free. Having done these useful, skillful, preparatory actions, now we can make contact with the breath. And we make contact with the breath in a way that brings these intentions with it. And today, every time we return attention to the breath, every time we open our attention back up broadly when it's become tight and contracted, we can retouch with this intention to be fully here, to let things arise and pass as they will and want. And this intention to find ease, to lean in toward ease, to incline the mind toward ease. And now, well prepared, with intention, with instruction, we can settle into some time in silence. So this teaching this week encourages us to mindfully leave the meditation as a way to deepen it. Interesting. So let's just slowly bring attention back to this meditating being in the world. Maybe start to take some stock of our surroundings. Perhaps there's a handy sound. Perhaps there's a sensation of the body against the cushion or the chair that can help sort of start to bring us gradually, unhurriedly, and gently sort of back into the different, more energetic interaction with the world, with our experience in the world. And in the Dharmette, we'll talk about some sort of specific ways we could do this. We don't have to do them all each time we leave the meditation. But for here and now, what comes up is perhaps touching in again with our intention. And maybe we had an intention for this particular meditation period to just be here with experience without fighting against it so much. And whether or not that was the experience of the meditation, it's useful to reconnect with that intention. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And kind of compare maybe our experience with that intention and notice places where, yeah, there was some greater ease with experience. We have a choice here to maybe focus on the positive. What felt good? What was wholesome? As we touch in with those mind states, they're stronger. And we could touch in too with intentions that go further than today's sit and have to do maybe with why we practice. Oh, right, there's this strong desire for well-being. There's an aspiration to be freer. And there's a heart that would like to be open to others. We can just recall those intentions for our practice. This is a realm of intention in which we take the intention for this little meditation period or returning to this breath in this moment even, and we bring it out into the larger world to meet experience without struggle so that we act and interact with a mind in peace. Anyway, touch in with intention as a way to leave the meditation mindfully. And as we do so, we can commit to sharing the benefits of the meditation with those around us and by implication, spreading out in concentric circles with all beings. So welcome, friends. Leaving the meditation mindfully continues now for me, but for all of us. And I'm reaching for my cup of tea. I feel the mug. I note that it's cooler than at the beginning of our sit. I take a sip. And in all of this, I'm aware of leaving mindfully, which will be the main focus of Dharmette today. So, though, to say, yes, day 5 of what we call the Buddha's smile. I call this week. We called. I didn't mean to say we call like it's a common thing. No, this week's focus became the Buddha's smile, the idea that in the meditation, understanding about the meditation arises, understandings about how to make it deeper, how to keep feeding it, keep encouraging it. And that with these understandings comes a smile, a sense of contentment, a sense of ease that may be inward, may be outward, may be shared with others. For those who might be just joining now, I did include in the chat, pointing down, I'm like, push that bell and subscribe or whatever, but I'm just saying, I guess it's over there in the YouTube chat. I did, responding to a request yesterday, provide the name of the sutta, the discourse that I've been riffing on this week. And also, because a couple people asked, the specific suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya, the collection of middle-length discourses of the Buddha, where the particular topic of this idea of cultivating the pleasantness or the pleasure of meditation are brought forward. All right. Mindfully entering and leaving meditation. I call this Dharmette protecting the practice. And I'll say this probably at the beginning, at the end, but the idea of protecting the practice, I really love that we ask so much of this practice. And we can also ask, what can I give the practice? What might the practice benefit from that I can provide? And one thing we can do for the practice is give it our sort of full attention and consideration, our respect almost. And we can do this in the way we enter and leave the meditation. So regarding entering, where I feel like there's more instruction provided, we get a lot of instruction around connecting with the breath and how to return to the breath in those first 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on personal things in the day, the weather, interior weather, exterior weather, how long it takes sort of for the mind to settle, because it takes time for everyone. We learn a lot about that entering process. To those kind of familiar instructions, I would add a couple additional ideas. One is just begin meditating before you sit down. Begin meditating before you meditate. Set things up, bow, smile, whatever you do that's part of it doesn't have to be a ritual, but just a habit, because this is a wholesome habit that replaces less wholesome habits. However you prepare. If it's, in my case, walking upstairs, you can walk upstairs or downstairs or around the house, to the place you meditate. You can look around the place you meditate. You can sort of take stock of this ambient sounds, what's happening in the body. Is there hunger? Is there gurgling? Is there a need to use the bathroom? Is there restlessness? Is there still some sleepiness? Whatever. Notice what's happening in the body. Notice the quality of attention in the mind. Is there ease? Is there hurry? Is there anxiousness? Is there contentment? Is there warmth? Is there stillness? Whatever. And as I think I've emphasized quite a bit this week, don't hurry. Take it easy, as I said yesterday, but don't hurry. There's no hurry needed here. Hurry is counterproductive in this practice. Unlike, much of the rest of our lives, when we sit down to meditate, there's a way in which we leave to one side. We don't push them away. We don't have to pull them out by the roots. We're just setting them aside while we meditate. Some of the way we strive and approach life outside of the meditation. And it's very, very nice to set them down, set them to one side for a period of meditation. So don't hurry. Gil says, I don't think he made it up, but I like it when he says it. It reminds people that in this practice, the quickest way from point A to point B, from here and now to where we want to be, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is to be fully present here at point A. It's here we want to be. And we don't have to hurry to be here. In fact, when we get hurried, we sort of, we're less here now. We're more there then. Be here now, we say. Another way to say that might just be, don't hurry. There's no reason to hurry. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're not trying to get anywhere else. Okay. Having said that about mindfully arriving, mindfully entering the meditation, here's a little bit more about mindfully leaving or exiting the meditation, which I think we hear a lot less about. The talks, the guidance tends to come in the beginning of the meditation, and so it focuses more on entering. So when we come to the end of the meditation, these are things I didn't do in the guided, but they're useful to keep in mind. Take a few deep breaths and bring awareness back to the body. And as you do so, notice any sense of ease that's there, because with the awareness that noticing it strengthens it. So kind of notice where we are. Sometimes you'll notice this most forcefully when we open the eyes. There will be awareness, oh, the eyes are really kind of focused like the mind in this middle distance, and it takes a while maybe for focus to kind of come back. And just be aware of what that's like before stirring, before moving from the cushion. Another thing that's very useful to do is come out. An early teacher sort of once taught me, come out the way we went in. Retrace our steps. Whatever that means. If there's any depth that's come up in the meditation, any ease, excuse me, come back out the way we went in so that we're creating a path. It helps to remember how we got in to go in next time. And this may be things like just noticing, what was the breathing like? Where was the mind centered? What led up to greater ease or greater contentment? And then sort of make a mental note of that and sort of be prepared to try those same steps the next time. The conditions we create, both entering and leaving, are really important in deepening the meditation. There's also this. There are, in some Buddhist traditions, the Tibetan, the Mahamudra in particular, really quite sophisticated approaches to what's called sometimes protecting the practice. And in this case, and I'm quoting here, protecting entails a comparison of immediate experience of the meditation with the teachings given. And this can be a very powerful thing to do as we lead to meditation, is to notice that, oh, there was greater ease when there was less attention to self. Or there was more letting go when I returned to the breath without judgment. These are really important things to notice because they connect the experience of this particular sit with the teachings that lead onward. And I love the idea of protecting the practice, taking care of the practice. We look at the practice as a tool. And just thinking of my father and the fact I have some of his tools and I don't take care of them like he would have. And this is a place where taking care of the tools, after we've used a tool, as I was taught, use a shovel, wash it off, let it dry in the sun. Don't let it get all rusty in the garage. I'm going to wash off my shovel later. But protecting the tool, taking care of the meditation is something that can really powerfully deepen it. That's the point of entering and leaving mindfully, is it helps the meditation grow deeper. So this is all before we stir from the cushion. And then before you get up, we might take time to feel grateful for the time we spent meditating. Almost, thank the practice. And don't leave entirely, right? Throughout the day, we can keep practicing. We can keep the breath in mind, for example. And then, if we sort of keeping the breath in mind, keeping some of these instructions in mind, keeping some of this ease in mind, keeping some of this peace with us, we create a more sustained, mindful awareness throughout the day. And it's there next time we go to sit down. That is, we've been with the breath. We've been preparing. So not leaving entirely is a way of, kind of always being ready to enter. So that's what I have for this week. And maybe I'll kind of, in the couple minutes that remain, just refresh our memory, our collective memory for this teaching. And I'll read some of it sort of verbatim. Practitioners. This is addressed then and now to us, to people who practice. Develop the meditation, deepen the meditation. Cultivate the stillness and collectedness and well-being of the meditation. And when you do so, 5 knowledges will arise. What 5? That this meditation is pleasurable now and results in benefits in the future, pleasant benefits. We can lean into that wholesome contentment, a wholesome satisfaction that arises in the meditation. That this meditation points on toward greater things, toward deep spiritual knowing and release. That this immersion, this deep meditation we cultivate in good company, one another, and other people who share these aspirations, who seek to open their hearts, who seek to act with a mind at ease, a mind at peace. And ultimately, we practice together with the Buddha and others who have awakened in this practice. Thursday, yesterday, with the take it easy idea, the knowledge arises in the meditation that this peace, this tranquility, this unification or collectedness of mind isn't held in place by force. That we are better off when we balance effort with allowing. And then finally today, that we benefit the meditation, we strengthen it when we enter and leave. And maybe it's usually, this is an interesting ordering for me because it's tactical, most tactical at the end. And yet it's perfect for this 7 a.m. sit in that it gives us something very specific to do when we gather again. I won't be with you Monday as in the teacher seat, but when the group gathers again next week, there will be this renewed opportunity to enter and leave mindfully in a way that strengthens the meditation. It's always a pleasure to do this. I am happy to be with you. I appreciate people coming together to support one another's practice in this way. Always happy to sit in for Gil with my wonderful teaching colleagues, Ying and Kim, the many others who sit the 7 a.m. with you. So take care, everyone, till next time our paths cross. And yeah, take good care of your practice. Take good care of your practice.